Good morning, Stampers. Happy Monday. It's Christine from Christine's Stamping Spot. Thank you for joining me today, and a happy Valentine's Day to all of you. February 14th. I hope you have a wonderful day celebrating with your family or your friends or whatever you're choosing to do. So today I am going to do a project with this Calming Camellia stamp set, and also using a little bit of the Very Versailles. The Very Versailles is in our large catalog. It's been around for a little while, but it's a beautiful vintage set. I just love it. Calming Camellia, I have started to see, or I have seen a number of projects using this stamp set. Now, it is in our celebration brochure, and celebration still runs for a couple more weeks till the 28th of February. And you will find it at the very back. It is actually our host set for this round of celebration. So what that means is if you are part of a stamp club, or if you would like to gather orders from your friends or host a party, you can get this for free with a $370 limit. So I know that's tough to achieve for a lot of people, but if you don't have this set or don't think you'll be able to reach it, which I think you could use any other sort of floral image to do the technique that we're going to do today on this card. So I'll show you what we're going to do. And I saw this project by a fellow demonstrator called June Dunn, and I have tried to case this almost exactly like she did because I just love the colors that she used. And I'm going to show you how we made this card. So I did it as a sympathy, but we're going to kind of switch it up a little bit, and you could add whatever greeting you wanted to this card. So let's get started, and we'll start with the actual stamping part. Okay, so I am starting with a piece of balmy blue, and I will post all of these measurements on the post, and so you can see them. You can adjust them if you like. So we're first going to start out with the Very Versailles. So we're going to use this scripted image here. Now, I can't read it. I think it's in French, which would make sense, but it's so detailed and tiny. Maybe some of you can read it. If you haven't, let me know what it says. Okay, so I think this is the right way up. So I'm just going to mount this, and we are going to stamp a bit of a background using Night of Navy as our ink. So I just want this to be quite subtle in the back. So I'm just going to stamp it off because I don't want it too dark. And I'm just going to start in the center. And then I'll just add a little bit down here. Oops, that went a little crooked, but hopefully that won't show later on. And then I'm going to add one over here. Now you could do this wherever you wanted. Okay, so that will start with our background. Yeah, I did go a little bit crooked, but that's okay because I think our camellia is going to cover that up. So I need to use this block again. So I'm just going to quickly clean my stamp. Does anybody have a Stampin' chamois that looks like this? Oh my gosh, this is so well used, and I keep saying, oh, I'll replace it, but really I haven't had to because it still does what it needs to do. It's fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to take this one off, and we are going to start with our flowers. Okay, so I'm going to use this large image here. And we are also going to stamp this in Night of Navy. Okay, so when you look at the stamp like this upside down, it doesn't really look like very much, but when you start to apply the ink, all of those images seem to start to pop. Okay. So I'm going to stamp this 4 times. I'm going to re-ink each time. So let's start here at the bottom. And that's what it will look like after you stamp. So I'm just going to stamp this in the corners or on the sides. Maybe I'll do this one just over here. And just rotate your paper as you go. And this one's up here. I'm going to do upside down, which is fine. And then I'll do one more in the other corner. Now, if you just wanted this to be your focal point, you could just do one right in the center. That you could do, no problem. Ooh, just got ink all over my fingers, these blocks. This is one of our larger ones, so oops, I got a little bit of a halo there, so that shouldn't be there, but we will go with it for today. Okay, so now is where the coloring part comes in. So as you can see on the sample, these flowers and leaves are darker than they are here. So the way we did that, and there may be other ways of doing this, I'm just taking one of our acrylic blocks. This is from one of our old paper pumpkin blocks. And I'm going to use now this isn't old because it says Whisper White. It's actually just white craft ink that we do sell as a stamp pad or as the refill. So you can always re-ink up your pads if they're drying out. I'm just going to use the refill. I know June had said what she did is she used the actual pad and stamped the block in the pad and then picked up the ink that way. For me, I found it was easier just to add some ink onto the block. You could do this on an old plastic lid if you had. And I'm just going to start with a bit. You can always add more. And then I took a blender pen. This is actually one of my older ones. And what I'm going to do is just sort of make this my kind of paint palette here. Now, if you don't have a blender pen, some people have suggested perhaps our white chalk markers might also work. And I haven't tried it, but if anyone out there wants to, let me know how it turns out. So now I'm just going to try to color these flowers. Now it is a little tricky to see them, so sometimes you have to just kind of hold it up to kind of spot them. And I'm just going to go over with this craft ink here. And just like you're kind of painting, really. I'm going to paint these flowers. And so we're going to start with the flower. Now I'm not going to do all of these because it would take a little bit too long, but I want to start and just show you how this would look. And I don't actually know if this is a specific technique or if someone just started randomly you know, adding ink. I suppose you could try different ones, but I know I have done something similar to this before directly on crumb cake with the white. And at that time, I think I used maybe an aqua painter and had it diluted a bit, but this is a little bit stronger, and I really quite like how this turns out. And as you can see, it's starting to pop a little bit against the blue and the navy ink. And it looks initially when you put this on like you're covering all of the ink, but it does dry and you can start to see some of the lines of the florals come through. And you can add as much or as little as you like. I found when I did my sample, I kind of went over it a couple of times because by the time I got to the last one, the first one had dried quite a bit. And I thought, oh, I'd like those to pop a little bit more. So then I went in and added a little more on top. So you can add as much or as little as you like, depending on the look you're going for. And it's quite relaxing. Like, just take your time coloring these in. And, you know, try to, I know this is a little bit tricky sometimes to see the floral images here. You could also experiment with different colors of ink, I'm sure, as your stamp, when you stamp these flowers. But I really, really like this combination that June had done. I thought it was just so, so pretty. She had actually done a sympathy card too, because she needed one, and it turns out we needed one. This last week I found out somebody we know had lost her mom. So I'm going to send her this, or my sample probably, as my card. Maybe this one, we'll see. And I just thought it's so pretty. And you could, it doesn't have to be for sympathy. You could certainly, you know, depending on your greeting, you could, you know, use this for many different occasions. It's still just so, so pretty and elegant, I think. And depending on the colors you choose, it would, you know, affect maybe the occasion you want to give it for. So that's kind of the idea of coloring these flowers. So you're just going to do the petals in the white. And then I'm just going to darken these up a little bit here. I can always go back later and finish this, but I just wanted to give you an idea how to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to set this aside for a bit. And then I'm going to use my light Granny Apple Green blend. And I'm going to use this for the leaves. Now, the leaves I found are even more difficult to find than the flowers. But you don't have to color all of this background, because this doesn't even look like leaves. It's just sort of a shadow almost is what it looks like. But there are some definite leaf images in here. And I did try initially when I started playing with this to use the Garden Green blend, I think. Or was it Garden? No, it was Old Olive. I tried to use the light one. And I actually found it to be too dark. And I remember June mentioning something. She couldn't quite remember which green she used. And then she did mention it was either Old Olive or this Granny Apple Green. And I'm pretty sure it would have been Granny Apple Green she used, because it's just a little bit lighter. Even though it still kind of shows up dark on here, right? But it just adds a little pop of green onto your project, which is a nice little contrast. If you don't want to color the leaves, you don't have to. Okay, let's just color some of these a little bit. And depending on, you know, how you cut your paper, you may get more of the image on too, or like I said, you don't have to do it in 4 places. You could just make it your focal point and just stamp the whole image as one. That would work. Okay, I'm not going to do those. I'm just going to do this side for now, just to save a little bit of time. I'm not even sure. Like, you kind of have to pick and choose what you're coloring, I guess. But the idea is that you're accenting this a little bit. I might just kind of shade this whole part in, even if I don't see a lot of leaves. Okay, maybe here too. Do that just a little bit. And then we have a bit of a stem, it looks like, down here, so. Okay, so I'll color that. So that's how I got the color on my card. Okay, so when you're completely finished, now depending where you have stamped, Now this I'm going to set aside because depending on how much of the white craft ink you add, it may need a little bit of time to dry before you put your card together. And you can see this one's still a little bit wet. So I'm just going to set this aside and show you a sample here that I did. Oh, I had a bit of a halo here too, but so this is one that I had done for today, and I just let it dry. And that's kind of where you can see all the coloring and all the green in there. And you could always add a little bit more green, like down here. I might just color this whole part in again of the green. Stems, foliage around. Okay, I'm not going to play too much more or I'll wreck it. Okay, so now that I have this extra one, we're going to put this together. Okay, so to do that, we are going to use a piece of Balmy Blue as our base. And then we are going to add on top of here a piece of Basic Black. Now this is cut quite close to the edge. I don't know, I might, if I do these, make more of these, I might just kind of switch that up because I found it a little bit tricky to mount and keep it straight. These aren't actually June's measurements. I kind of guessed what she did, but I just kind of went from her photo. Helps if you fold this properly to begin with, which I did not. Okay, so this is just going to show the tiniest of blue around the edges. Okay, so just very little bit is the way her sample looked. I might make this a little bit smaller just to see a little bit more of the blue next time. Okay, so I'm just going to set this aside. Now, one thing I do want to do as well on this one, and I didn't do it on my sample, but I'm going to sponge around the edges here. And I'm not going to add a lot. I'm just going to grab one of our sponges. You could use a sponge daub or two. And I'm just going to go over these edges a tiny bit because I think it will give it even more of a kind of vintagey, antique feeling, maybe, so to say. I don't know if that's really an expression, but you kind of know what I'm meaning. And I don't want to cover up all this white. I just kind of want to get it around these edges a little bit here. And again, you can add as little or as much as you like. Okay, so that just kind of looks a little bit different. Okay, I think that's probably good. Okay, wait, just a spot up here. There, okay. All right, so now this piece we are going to put on top of a piece of crumb cake. And so you can see my blends kind of went through the back because they do seep through, so just be aware of that. It's always maybe a good idea to do them, put them on top of another layer. Okay, so let's put this on the crumb cake, and then we're going to add some ribbon before we attach it to the base. So this is our metallic mesh ribbon. This, I think, initially came out, was it last year or the year before, around Halloween? And this was used kind of, you know, on Halloween projects and stuff, but it's so pretty. Like I did some gift packaging and made this into a bow, and it looked just beautiful at Christmas time. So it's definitely an all-purpose ribbon, and it's very delicate and pretty. Okay, so let's see if I can tie this bow here. So I'm going to offset it a little bit here to the left. And I am bow tire, as everyone knows. Okay, so let's see what we get. A little bit big here. Oh, you know what? I don't like that. I'm gonna do it this. Is it this way? Or is that what I just did? Oh my gosh, see, I told you I'm not a good bow tire, but oops, sorry, I gotta bang my head into the camera. Let's see if we can figure something out here. Okay, so it's just gonna give like the subtlest of color here to this card, this mesh. I mean, you could use any ribbon, right? I just loved how this looked, but of course mine is not so beautiful. I should have done this ahead of time. Okay, let's try again. Part of the reason I don't cut my ribbon off the spool when I'm tying is because I seem to mess up quite a bit when I tie it, and so I don't want to cut it beforehand because chances are I will have cut it way too short. So I would sooner just do it from the spool and then cut it off after, or cut it a longer piece to begin with and then just trim off the excess. So, okay, so that's doable, I guess. Sort of like that. Just make it a little tighter. Yeah, I might play with that later a bit. Okay, what did I do with my ribbon scissors? Let's just trim this edge off. Okay, it's not the most beautiful. And like I said, you don't have to use this ribbon. You can use whichever one you like. But to hide some of this, I'm going to use a little bit of my I had some old cord around. Yeah, this is just a little bit big. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Please be patient. Some people are just so natural at tying bows and ribbons, and that is not me. But, okay, that looks a little better. Okay, so I'm just going to take a piece of old cord that I had, or you could use old, like just something thin, or you don't have to do this at all. I just wanted a little bit of contrast here. I can find it now. Oh my gosh, this ribbon is proving to be a problem. Okay, so I'm just going to tie this around this bow. A little bit of contrast here. Make a little bow. A little bow on top of a big bow. Now you could tie your greeting onto here. I think that's what June had done, but I'm just going to do mine a little bit separate, I think. Okay, so that I'm just going to move this up a little bit. Move this up. Spread it out a little. And then I can trim these a little bit more. Okay, so then I'm going to add this on top of our base. And you could pop it up with dimensionals if you wanted. I'm just going to put mine on flat. Put that on top of the black, like so. Okay, and then lastly is our greeting. So I'm going to add a different greeting. Lovely You. It's from the Special Moments Celebration Set, which you can also get with a $120 purchase for free. So I might just sponge around this a little bit too, just so they kind of match. I have one of my team girls that's celebrating a stamping anniversary, so I think I might just send this to her as a little congratulations. And then I'm going to add some dimensionals to pop this up. I don't know ones. Oh, there they are. Just easier. Add about 3. Oops, got stuck. All right, we're getting there, guys. It really doesn't take this long when you do it, but okay. So I'm just gonna tuck that under here. Lovely you, because she's a lovely, lovely lady. And there you go, 2 sort of different versions. This one I had some other cord on here or some other ribbon than this one, but you could use what you have or just use something different. Whatever you choose to do is totally, totally fine. So there you go, that painting technique. I'm not even sure what you would call it for the Calming Camellia card. I just love, love, love that. Okay, so I do have a host code for February if you're interested, ASVHERK9. You can use that at checkout if you're placing an online order on my website at christineludwig.stampinup.net. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Pinterest, and my new YouTube channel, all known as Christine Stamping Spot. And I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel and like my Facebook page. So I hope you enjoyed that project, and give it a try with whatever sort of floral images you might have. I think it would just be stunning, and different color combinations would also be just beautiful, I'm sure. All right, so I hope you all have a very happy Valentine's Day, and we will see you again next week. Bye for now.